Hello, I'm Rico Caviglia, and this is your Ageless Body Self-Care Guide, your operations manual for your body and for your mind. And the title of today's session is Yoga. So we're going to learn that yoga is much more than just exercises. It's a true self-care way of living. And we're very fortunate to have a great expert and teacher with us today. Her name is Paula Mitten, and she is an internationally known world-class yoga teacher, and she has an online yoga teacher training program as well. So Paula, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Well, I just want to tell our audience too that you are actually in Ireland. So that's so cool that I can be here in California and you're in Ireland and we can have a great conversation.
That's right. Yeah. I love how Zoom has brought us together.
It surely has, yeah. So again, thank you very much for coming and sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. So I think the first question I want to ask you actually is, how did you first become attracted to get into yoga and then to become a yoga teacher?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. I actually trained as a costume designer for TV and film sets.
Mm.
And I was young and I thought it was going to be very glamorous and exciting. And it turned out that it was quite a stressful, challenging career that I had gotten myself into. So I was really struggling. I was struggling to sleep. I could see the effects very quickly, the negative effects very quickly on my body. And so I started to look for something that would help me, to keep going and to de-stress and just to get a good night's sleep, right? So so I started to research. And so my first dip of the toe into yoga was actually relaxation techniques, breathing exercises, that sort of thing, working with my mind before I ever came across the physical practice. And so I did that for a while, and then I left the film industry and I started working in the fitness industry. And I remember very quickly I got hooked on the physical practice because I just started going to classes in the gym. And one class a week led to two, and I was practicing at home, and I was seeing such amazing benefits from the practice. I mean, not just physically, but I remember when I started the classes first, I actually was suffering with my chest. I had a lot of congestion on my chest, and the doctors had said perhaps it was asthma, that had set in kind of older for asthma. And after a few weeks, that my chest cleared up. And that was one of the first moments I was like, wow, there's really something to this. And then I used to wake every single night. I would wake in the night. And after about 8 weeks of practice, I stopped waking up in the night. So I was instantly, I started seeing the benefits. So for me, that got me hooked. I just wanted to do more and more. And I remember hearing a conversation between the teacher that I was going to and one of the students who was training to be a yoga teacher, and thinking, that would be a pretty cool thing to do. Never really thought much about where I would go afterwards, but just to deepen my knowledge, to get the opportunity to teach some yoga classes. I didn't realize that it was going to become a career at the time. But yeah, it was the best move I've ever made. I went into teacher training, and then I started in Ireland, but I trained in the States. And I actually handed in my notice into work so that I could go to the States, and came back knowing that this was it. I was going to be a full-time yoga teacher. So I just continued on from there. I've had an absolutely privileged experience. I got to travel all over the world to teach yoga, which has been awesome.
Yeah, I totally understand it. It's the same for me. When I first became a fitness trainer way back in the early '80s, at first it was just something. Well, it sounds fun, and you get to learn to get in shape for yourself. But then when you see how you can really affect other people's lives and how it makes a huge difference in their life, mentally, physically, spiritually, then you just it just feels so good to do it, right? And so then it just becomes it's really a blessing profession that we can help people and learn about things for ourselves and help other people as well. So I totally understand. Also, it's kind of interesting. Most people, at least most people here in the U.S., they they start by go take like an exercise, yoga class and and then they begin to learn more about the mental, the meditation and the spiritual aspects. But you did it the other way around. That's really interesting.
Yeah, but funnily enough, like when I started in that, I didn't realize that I was practicing yoga. I
Right.
didn't understand yeah,
Yeah.
it was just so, I researched and I came up with these techniques, but I didn't understand that it was the yoga practice.
Mhm.
Actually, it and I feel like I probably, when I went to my first asana practice, like my first physical practice, it was all about the physical. Like I didn't realize, but I started to see the benefits, coming really, really quickly. And I was lucky. I've had some amazing teachers as well. But um, the yoga practice is so much more than the physical. And
Exactly.
if it wasn't, it would just be an exercise class or gymnastics or whatever. Because sometimes we see, especially these days, we see yoga on Instagram or on social media, and it looks like we're just performing shapes and it's acrobats. But that comes through like a lifetime of dedication and practice to just showing up on the mat. It's not about fancy poses or about the physical. That's a benefit of practicing regularly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. True. The true thing of yoga, actually, why we do the exercises. Obviously, we get the physical benefits, obviously, but it's really just a method to quiet your mind and be able to go inside and connect to your higher self. So let's talk a little bit about. That's a good segue into that. Talk a little bit about really what is the overall philosophy and spiritual teachings of yoga.
Yeah. Well, the yoga practice, it's over 5,000 years old. So it didn't begin with the physical practice. That's not what it was about. And really, yoga is being in the now. It's being present. And you could be practicing yoga without practicing yoga. Like, I mean, you can be someone who has never stepped on a yoga mat, but you're a yogic person, right? Because you're present, you're grounded, you're in your center, right? So that's like a big piece to the yoga practice. And there's many different methods to get the results that we're looking for. Most people do start, you're right, most people do start for the physical practice. A lot of people do because that's what they see, that's what's offered, and it's an easy route in. A lot of people, like, they need something like that to bring them into the practice, but it's only one piece. And there's many different yogic texts, but one of the big ones that a lot of teachers will have studied is the Yoga Sutras. And the Yoga Sutras lay out an eight limb path of how we should live our lives. And so it starts with ways of being. The yamas and the niyamas are ways of living and being. And then it goes to the physical practice. And we go on from there to steps that take us to meditation. So withdrawal of the senses, drawing your awareness inwards, concentration, meditation. And finally, the last step is to reach a place called samadhi or enlightenment, where we've gone through all of the other stuff that comes up as a human being. So there's all of these pieces. But when we come to the practice physically, like for anybody out there who wants to practice or wants to start yoga, the physical practice is a great place to start, because it actually, okay, in the beginning you might be focused on movement, like where you place your foot and how you move into a pose, and just the strength or the stamina of holding a pose and all of that. But what we actually get very quickly is a combination of meditation, which is like a stilling of the mind and a concentration. We get pranayama, which is breathing, breath work, like breathing exercises, because we move with our breath. Like, breath is a huge piece in the physical practice. So we end up combining the movement, the breath, and it becomes a meditation practice, because we're physically moving and aware of every movement, every sensation. So I think join and do the physical practice, and from that everything else will start to open up. And different people will have different pathways in, but if the physical practice is your way in, then it's a perfect place. It's a perfect place to begin. And most people continue practicing physical practice even when we're practicing a long time. Like I first started training to be a yoga teacher in 2005, and I like still the physical practice is a huge piece. Yes, I meditate as well, and we work on studying the texts and the ways of being. And I suppose what we're looking for is that whether it's meditation or pranayama breath work or the physical practice, the time on the mat is a short time, right? We might spend an hour on the mat. We spend 23 hours of the day in the world. So what we're looking for is to find a way of being on the mat that we can then take out into the world, that translates as being more grounded, like not reacting to things. When something comes up, instead of having that initial reaction, that we can process the situation. It's like when you're in meditation and you're trying to sit and be with whatever comes up. It's the same. We take that into the world, and it's like something happens and we don't get triggered by it. We might get triggered, but then we go, interesting. And you notice what's going on, you notice that process, and then you can respond rather than react. And the more we practice yoga, whether it's the physical practice or the meditation or the pranayama, it will all ultimately affect how you are in your everyday life. And that's what really counts, because we don't spend that long on the mat. Well, some people are lucky, they can spend longer. But for most of us, if we get an hour a day, and sometimes some people it's an hour a week, but if that affects how you can live your life, then that's massive. That's a massive piece. And that's just, that's just one side of it, right?
Yeah, well, that's so well expressed. Yeah, thank you for that, Paula. That was expressed really well. Yeah, well, this whole project is about self-care, how we can better take care of ourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. And that's what yoga really encompasses. We need to learn how, and we're not taught from little children how to breathe, how important our breath is. We're not taught that, really how we need to take care of our body and create flexibility and strength. And we're not taught how to well, we should be taught how to meditate when we're young, how to quiet your mind and not be distracted by all the distractions in the physical world, and how to relax and not be so stressed out like so many people are. So it encompasses all the things that we just should learn when we're little children, how to care for ourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. So that's why, yeah. And when I first was exposed to yoga, the same thing. I began to see, well, this is really what we need to know how to do it. And so, it's not a dogmatic religion type thing that some people still think it is. It's just really a way, as this whole program is about, how to care for yourself mentally and physically, and it can take many different aspects, and you can take it, develop it in whatever way that seems really the best for you.
Yeah, and the breath that you mentioned, it like that's, for me, that's a huge piece. Like learning how to work with your breath, how to breathe properly. 25% of the lung capacity is what most people use. Like, we don't breathe properly. We breathe in reverse. When we inhale, the upper body, the belly, the chest should expand, and for so many people, it contracts, it goes inwards when they take a breath in, which causes all sorts of health problems. So even just learning how to sit with your natural breath and actually allow the breath the upper body to expand as you inhale and relax as you exhale, like that simple piece, slowing down your breath. Like we know that when you breathe more slowly, it calms the body and the mind.
Absolutely.
So if you find yourself in a stress-like state and you can use your breath as a tool to calm yourself, like how beneficial is that? How valuable is just knowing how to slow down your breath? even just knowing that if you do slow down your breath, if you do check in with your breath, that it will take you out of that place.
Yeah.
Like it's a huge piece.
I was just going to say, and on the other hand, you can also use your breath to energize yourself, to wake yourself up, like a breath of
Yeah.
fire or something. Our breath is our number one tool that most people just take, we take for granted because we breathe without thinking about it, but we're not really breathing. And one thing I just want to add on the breath part is it's so important. The exhalation is actually the most important. So you get all that old stale air out, because if you don't, then at the bottom of your lungs, all that old stale air is still in there, and then you're not fully able to fill up your lungs and get all the oxygen that you need. So yeah, breathing is such an important tool that we all need to learn about. Well,
That's
tell us
right.
about some of the sort of benefits that you have seen in your students, and some of the things that someone can expect when they begin to learn to breathe and learn to move their body and then learn to quiet their minds. Talk about some of the benefits.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
what I see in my students and my children, because I use these techniques with my children, which is great. But like people, for example, people who haven't been breathing fully their whole lives can be holding all of this mucus and staleness in their body, and in the lower lungs. And so when they start breathing properly, like what happened to me, you can like clear out your lungs. Sometimes when people start first, they think that they've got a little like a head cold or sinus infection, but actually it's just clearing out the bottom of the lungs, and so then they can breathe properly. They'll sleep better. Like usually people will say to me after their yoga practice that night they have the best night's sleep, and they'll often see for a few days afterwards they'll feel the benefits, and then maybe day 3 or day 4 they need their yoga fix again. So so better sleep, more energy, like really, how much energy it gives you in your day. And especially, I mean, I was going to say, especially if you practice in the morning, it's going to give you a boost for the day. But even if you don't, you practice at night, the next morning you feel much more energized. Physically, we hold so much tension in the body. If you think about how most of us spend our days, we're so tight. We're like typing and like driving, and everything's
Shoulders up.
tight.
Yeah. Our shoulders up here like this. Oh yeah.
Shoulders
Okay.
are here,
Yeah.
and we hold stress up through the back of the neck. Like people get headaches from stress. We let go of all of that in the practice, and and we call it practice for a reason. It's a constant practice of letting it go, and with your teacher, for those of you who've been in yoga class, you'll know, like, your teacher will continually try to encourage the shoulders to soften, the face to soften, because it creeps back in, and we just keep letting go. So
On that point,
um
I'm sorry. I just want to say, I just thought that I can never remember the name, but there was one famous or well-known guru from India, and that was all he would say. When somebody would ask him, what should I do about this, he'd just say, let go. That was the whole mantra, and it's letting go physically, mentally, all those things. We're just holding on to things. So yeah, it's
that's
about letting
right.
go. Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's such a huge thing to learn, just to let go, because we hold our life's experiences, like physical, mental, emotional, in our body. And if we can learn to just breathe it out, let it go, soften, like, leave the past in the past, and all of that, then we're more comfortable in our bodies, you know um so yeah, like, people who suffered with headaches for their whole lives, it starts to disappear. um even people with, like, breathing difficulty or asthma, things like that, it can really help to improve. So, like, there's so many different benefits physically. The body gets stronger, it gets more flexible, and we get to be patient with it. We get to practice acceptance in where we are now, and knowing that if we just continue on the path, that everything will unfold, and the body will get stronger, it will get more flexible, we will become calmer, and whatever comes up today or this week, that's okay. You know, things come up, and we, you know, we live, we're more accepting with how things are.
I,
With my, sorry, say that
oh,
again.
no, I just want to add to on that same point you're making. It's because it's so important, especially these days. So many people are. Well, first of all, we already have created such a rushed, stressful way of living, and then with the whole virus thing, so many people are just so stressed out and fearful, and that's why what you're talking about and all the benefits from doing yoga, breathing, and exercises it's the best thing you can possibly do to reduce that stress and let go of all this feeling of being rushed and fear, and it just has so many great benefits. So more and more people just really need to explore and embrace a lot of the different aspects of yoga.
Yeah, yeah, because actually, for most of us, we live our lives in a state of stress. Like we're in fight or flight all the time. We're releasing adrenaline because, you know, it starts from the minute the alarm clock goes off in the morning, our body goes into stress mode, and then we're racing around and we're probably drinking some coffee and racing to work or dropping the kids or whatever it is that we're doing. But we don't really spend much of our time coming out of that state, and the body's not supposed to be in constant state of stress. We're, you know, that's to get us out of a dangerous situation, so, you know, or to deal with something, you know, life threatening, and then like naturally we should, or you know, we would come back into a place of rest and digest and calmness, but we tend not to. We tend to live in that constant go go go, you know, racing around. So the yoga practice actually, that's one of the reasons why the systems of the body start to work more correctly when we do yoga, because we come out of that place of stress. We start to breathe properly, we slow down, and then the blood and the oxygen can actually go to all of the systems of the body, and not just the arms and legs to keep us racing, right? It's huge. It's a huge piece.
So tell us how you start your morning. You know, I do myself. I have an early morning routine, and I teach that as well. You know, a way to, as you mentioned, some people just wake up with an alarm clock and have some coffee and rush off, and they're not prepared to have a really powerful day, and they're all in a state of stress instead of taking time to breathe and relax and set some intentions and do a little movement. So tell us about how do you start your day?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I have two young kids,
Oh,
so,
well, that's
so sometimes they start my day a
oh
lot of the
yeah, yeah.
time. But I do get up quite early. So 5:30, 6 a.m. is quite a normal time for me to get up out of bed. Um, Weekends, everything. There's no difference between Monday and Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the same. I tend to get up early, so I have a lot of time before I have to get into the doing, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so these days I'm doing like a workout, like you know, I do a fitness workout first, and then I do a yoga practice after, and it's 30 minutes and 30 minutes, and that's what I have. That's the space I have in my day. And then I organize the children lunches and school bags, and we start into our day. But they don't need to be at school until 9 a.m. So I have lots of time. My morning isn't rushed. And I remember when I was younger, like as a teenager, and you know, going to school and going to college, where I would get up, and it was just our way. It was like, you know, part of my family's way of being, where we would get up at the last moment.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I remember I used to go to college. I had to get the train at 7 a.m. and I could be jumping out of the bed like at 20 minutes to 7, throw the clothes on and race to the train station, and usually like a good portion of the time miss the train. It would be pulling out. I was running in,
That's funny.
and it's such a stressful way to live. I didn't
Right.
realize what I was doing to myself. Now I like my children get up early. My son meditates every morning. You know, we actually have quite a calm, relaxing time it's probably the most peaceful time of the day, actually, is morning time in our house, which I think for me that's it's such a win because my life was never like that when I was younger. So
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so good. You know, so again, see, I want to let our viewers know, see, even Paula, she's really busy, and if you have children, no matter how busy you are, you can get up early enough and take the time. It'll be so beneficial for you too. And I like how you said, before I start my doing, because we're actually human beings, right? Well, actually, we should be called human doings, right? But so it takes some time in the morning to just be, and then you can go out and do. So if you be first, then you'll do better later, right?
that's right. And honestly, my day is always better when I am being in the morning, and I take the time to actually take care of me, and then I go on to out into the world to do whatever needs to be done. But I'll always have a better day. I'll always have a more productive day, and I'll be more grounded as I move through. Because, like, I mean, my business, if you want, or like my yoga community that I've built, like that, it takes up a lot of time, and it's like I could be quite busy, and I think it's how you're being as you're living your life. Like, I wouldn't want to have the community that I have and the size of business that I have if I couldn't be grounded and centered as I do it. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. So
And I mean, just to say that I there are times, there are seasons or periods in my life where I let my yoga practice slip, or I let my fitness and my self-care slip, and it never feels good to do that. And I always I wonder then, when I get back into routine again, why, like, why did I let that happen? It's normally when I'm up in my head that happens. I let my thoughts take over instead of dropping down into my heart and knowing what's best for me.
wow, so well said, Paula. Thank you so much for that. And so I think, okay, so kind of to sum it up here, for someone who has thought about it, and maybe said, maybe I should try some yoga, and maybe I should learn to meditate, and all these things could be beneficial for me, what would you recommend? How should they get started if they've never done any of this before?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many great teachers out there, and I know at the moment, it's not so easy to go in person and have a class, but all of the teachers or so many teachers are offering yoga online, that you can definitely find a teacher that's right for you. And now, like we were saying earlier, you could like join a teacher anywhere in the world through
Yeah.
online, which is
Right.
something we never had before. But I think start with the basics, like whatever you're drawn to. Don't feel like it has to be one thing or another. It doesn't have to be physical. Could be meditation, or vice versa, or could be breath work, pranayama. But whatever you feel drawn to, that you feel like you'd enjoy doing, then choose that route. Okay, and go for the basics. Like, go for a teacher who's teaching for who has lots of experience in working with students, that can really support you, and start with the simple things. And even if you feel, because sometimes we don't really want to go into a group class straight away, you could start with simply watching your breath at home. Like, give yourself 5 or 10 minutes, and sit somewhere quietly and just watch your natural breath. I always start with watching my breath and see, and with my students, how is the breath flowing? How's your breath today? And then from there, you're naturally allowing your breath to slow down. So we're not forcing it. You never want to be trying to breathe at someone else's count, or trying to force your breath to slow down, because all it does is stress you out. It has the opposite effect, right? So let your breath slow naturally, and then see, could you lengthen your exhalation? Like, let your out breath be a little bit longer than your in breath. And again, without forcing it, just see what happens. And work with that, because the way that the breath works is, over time, your muscles get stronger. Like, the muscles of the breathing system get stronger, and they get more flexible, and you can take a fuller, deeper breath. So it's okay if your breath feels quite shallow to begin. You're working on it. It's like any other part of the body that you get to work with, over time. And it won't take too long. If you were to practice 5 minutes every day, like over a short period of time, you'll see massive changes. So simple breathing, or if it's a case that you do it in bed at night, you can watch your breath and work with your breath, and also just allow your body to relax. So you're doing a little breathing and relaxation. I like to do body scans, like thinking about relaxing all of the parts of the body from the head down to the feet, or feet up to the head. Again, just whatever you're drawn to. Yeah, so even something as simple as that, and then maybe you find a teacher further down the line. But if it's the physical practice, I think it's good to find a teacher and start with the basics. Don't try to jump into a mixed level or higher level class, but find something that's like really building blocks that will take you to the next level.
Wow, such great advice, Paula. Thank you so much for that. And I want to remind you that this this video training comes with a PDF where you can get the transcription of what we just talked about in this video, and you'll have all of Paula's contact information. So you definitely want to go there and see what she has to offer. I know she has some gifts for you, and she has some online classes that you can take and try them out. So we really encourage you to stay connected to all of our experts, and we know that all of our experts are people that you can really trust, that are going to give you the right information, and they really care about your health. And so be sure and check out Paula, and go to her website and check out some of her classes. So Paula, that was so good. That was so good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I just wanted to
Yes.
say that
Oh,
if
sure.
anybody, like, if you want to reach out to me, you can, like, I will reply to you. So please feel free to email me. My email is info@durga.ie, and anything you want to know, if you want to ask questions, or you're starting, you're confused, I am here to support you. So please feel free to contact me.
Thank you so much for that, Paula. See, it's true.
You're
See,
welcome.
all of our experts, they really care about you. They want to help you. So we're here. That's what this whole project is about, is to help you learn how to care better for your life, so you can go out and live a better, healthier life and make a bigger difference in the world. So that's what it's all about. You just got to step up and do it. Right, Paula?
That is right. Yes, absolutely.
All right. Take action. That's the thing. All right.
That is,
Thanks so much for being here.
thank you.